In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. So, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this week's podcast. We're here. This is our first one that we've done with this where we can say Scarlet's won. So, Martin, how are you feeling this week?
I'm feeling very happy. Very happy. And I'm optimistic we're not going to lose another game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's just blind optimism, I think that is. But yeah, no, it's a good feeling, isn't it? It is a good feeling to kind of be able to sit there and just. Is it relief or how would you call it?
Yeah, I think there's a fair bit of relief.
Yeah.
In there, frustrations were boiling over at certain points.
Well, it was getting a bit silly, wasn't it? People were starting to call for people to go and let's merge with the Ospreys and all sorts of stuff. And
some people expect instant results. I mean, this isn't football. We do have contracts. We do generally see them out.
Yeah,
and if we cut them short, we cut them short after the season, not during the middle of it, or even at the beginning.
And I think that's, I could see where people's frustrations were coming from. But like we said last week, you've got to kind of keep a realistic view on it. You're going to kind of understand that there is a system, there is a process. And like you say, sometimes a coach will come in and there'll be an instant reaction. And sometimes it takes a while. And, if it takes a while, doesn't it? So yeah, sometimes people just need to keep a lid on their social media. So speaking of social media, let's have a look at the 3-word reactions first. Let's see what we got in 3-word reactions. So oh, my throat again. So Lyndon says we didn't lose, which is a bit of a negative start, really, but it's factual. Do you know what I mean? It's there. It's there.
It's better than we did lose.
Yeah, I'll believe that. Patty says win at last. David relieves some pressure, which again, I think that's quite true. And I think Dwayne said in his interview after, didn't he, that his first decent night's sleep in a couple of weeks would be good. Phil, win at last. Mandy, bonus point win. Yeah, Gene, take that win. And it's all that kind of thing that, you can sense the relief. You can sense we've got one under the belt. It would have been nice to get it first game of the season. But again, like we said last week, 4 games in and we could have won. We could be sitting on a 4-game winning streak quite easily, quite comfortably in all of those games. We were not far away from all of those. So to get a decent win against Zebre was quite good. And it was a decent win, wasn't it? What did you think of the game? What did you think of it?
Well, the overall game, I thought we played extremely well, and we managed the game a lot better than we have done, obviously, over the past 4 weeks of the season. Things could have easily gone awry when that magic red appeared, and we conceded a try almost instantly after that, and you could tell there were a few bums going in the stadium. But in all fairness, they boys stuck together, and they didn't concede another point after that, and they just kept on pushing and pushing, and we left a lot of tries on that field.
Yeah, we did, but we had 2 disallowed, wasn't it? And
yeah, I mean, I can understand the Jonathan Davis one. So
yeah, that was a knock on.
Yeah. But I don't get the Callum Mahoney both feet behind the ball at the ruck. I mean, you watch every scrum half, one foot is normally in front of the ball when they pick it up. So how does that work?
Yeah, and it is a rule, but then when you look at the margin of was it in front or was it behind, and you look at what part of the ball and things like that. So yeah, I thought it was unfortunate, but rules is rules. If it had been that was the decider in the game, yeah, I'd be bouncing off the ceiling. But I think the pressure, the bit that impressed me was, well, the bit that impressed me compared to the last couple of games was the first 10 minutes, because that's the first game where we've come out of the blocks. Do you know what I mean?
We would wait.
Yeah, the first couple of games, first 10 minutes, we're just not there. We're just sat in the changing rooms waiting for them to put a couple of points on us. So to actually come out and put pressure on them from the kickoff to defend the first set quite comfortably and then just keep applying the pressure until we got the points, I thought that was more impressive for me than, well, not impressive, but I was just pleased that we'd done it. Do you know what I mean? That we didn't, we were never fighting back in that game. We were always in control. It felt easier, put it that way. But,
yeah, we never went behind at any stage. It was never an uphill battle at any stage. There were tough times during the game, which we came through, but we never looked like we were really that vulnerable.
Yeah.
Obviously, outside of the first 20 minutes, where obviously you're finding your feet, but outside of that, it didn't look like we could have lost at any point.
Yeah, it was. I think if that had been the first game of the season, we would have all been quite comfortable. But I watched a game in a pub. I was at a fancy dress party. I was Laurel and Hardy with a wife, and whichever one of them is the fat one. I was that one. So so I spent most of the night in the public bar, dressed as the fat one with a bowler hat on and the tie, watching the Scarlets game. And yeah, it just felt, if that had been the first one, that there wouldn't have been a panic. We would have felt in control. And I was talking to a couple of guys that were there watching it, and it was like every time Zebre got the ball, there was just this tension. It was like, yes, we know we're in control. Yes, they don't really look like they're going to break the line. It doesn't feel like we're behind on anything. But given the last 4 weeks, we were just always really nervous. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit like being a Cardiff supporter.
That was a dark comment.
No, anyway, so every time Cardiff get the ball, so I talked to a couple of Cardiff supporters, and every time they get the ball, they're just assuming that they're going to nuts it all up. So it just felt like that. But yeah, I felt certainly the first half. By the time we went in at the first half, I felt that we were pretty much getting back to where we needed to be. It was confident. We were trying things. We were slinging the ball around. It felt like the guys were enjoying it, and we haven't had that for a while. So
yeah, I think one of the big takeaways was we weren't trying too much. We were keeping it quite close to the chest in contact. Like there weren't that many, round the back, outside the back door passes, no little offloads here and there. I mean, I think we only registered one offload in the entire game, which seems quite unusual for the Scarlets team. But it kind of made the point, just keep the ball and keep pushing forward.
I think you can definitely see the improvement there on the last couple of weeks. And I know it's Zebre, but Zebre are not the team that they were 2 seasons ago. Do you know what I mean? They have improved and they're competitive.
Yeah, they're more than likely still going to be bottom of the table, but they're not the perennial whipping boys that they've been in the past. They are putting up fights against everyone, and first hour against us, they were still in the game.
Yeah, I think the difference with them is let's say 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, you'd have rested a lot of your frontline players. And I think Leinster made that mistake at the first game of the season and nearly lost. You don't play Zebre with your second team anymore. You have to front up, and you have to bring your first team, and you have to be pretty on the button. And if you're on the button, yes, you'll win. But if you're not, they're going to give you a few scares. And they did. They gave us a couple of scares on Saturday as well. And the thing, I thought that there was a few too many line breaks. So they were getting through our line. And I know it's further up the pitch. We're talking halfway and 10-yard and that kind of thing. But they were still breaking that line. Now, if that's the Stormers or the Bulls or Leinster or whatever breaking that line up there, that's a try. It was only Halfpenny and then a scrambling cover defence that really kept us alive. And that scramble defence and Halfpenny were really, really good. But you just think, well, if it had been Stormers or Leinster, then would we have held up with that scramble defence? So it's a little that was one of the negatives for me. I thought my plus points for the weekend was my first one. I thought Scott Williams and Foxy were really, really well together. I thought they held it together in midfield really, really well. I think we missed Scott Williams a lot.
Yeah, Scott was really, considering it was his first game back, he took a bit of a knock in the Bristol pre-season game, and this is his comeback. And it didn't look like he thought he was playing last week. He was fluent with everything. I mean, he even took a little dig with his shoulder at one point, and he just shrugged it off and carried on. And it's brilliant to see him playing. And he's been a captain for us before, and he does have that presence about him. And it's very timely considering the amount of centres that have been falling down the stairs lately.
Yeah, and I think with that leadership, I think having him on the pitch helps Foxy as well. I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off Foxy to kind of do everything and to G everybody up and things like that, and he can focus on his game more, because we've been talking the last couple of weeks about he's not the player that he was and things like that. And you've got to be fair to him. Saturday night, I thought he had a really good game on Saturday night, Foxy. I thought his tackling was decent. His running with ball in hand was good. I think there was there was one time on the line where it was Foxy putting a couple of tackles, and then it was Combe and Scott Williams that got underneath the ball to prevent a try. So, it's stuff like that they're really putting the effort in, and fair play to him. He's had a fair bit of stick off a lot of people, Foxy has, over the last couple of weeks. So to come out with that performance, credit where credit's due. I thought he's done really, really well. But what did you make of let's split the line out into 2 parts. Let's split it with Ken and then split it with Ryan Elias. How did you think it worked with Ken?
I think it's a little bit unfair to split it, Ken and Elias for there.
Well,
but, obviously the starting 8, the starting pack, line out was fairly simple, but successful.
Yeah.
And then obviously you bring the subs on, and it's not always down to Elias. You could see a couple of occasions where I think Morgan Jones went to jump for the ball, and I'm not 100% sure if it was Stephen Thomas or someone else. The front lifter wasn't in place to get him up there.
Right.
So it's just a bit of miscommunication, just fine tuning it, because I've played hooker during my time as a player, and I hate the fact that everyone sticks the line out straight on you just because you're throwing it in. You can throw that ball in absolutely perfect 1,000 times in a row. If your pods are not lifting properly, you're never going to win the ball.
Yeah, but then, like you say, there was a lot of change rounds, and when the change rounds were made, let's put it that way. Then, when after the change rounds, the line out
It was a bit of a dip.
Yeah, and it went back to the way we were last season, and it just didn't feel like it was operating the way that. So you can see that there's been improvement there. You can definitely see that when we put our first 15 on the pitch, it does tend to work really, really well, because the same is true with the scrum. That scrum was rock solid.
Oh.
And the Zebre scrum at the start of the season gave the Leinster scrum an absolute torrid time for 60 minutes. So they're not a side that doesn't know how to scrummage, and our scrum was rock solid on Saturday. I think there was a couple where we pushed them back, but it never looked like ours was going backwards at any point, which was quite nice. And it gives you then
it
that
was
platform.
It was really good to see Harry O'Connor get that start at tight head now. And, he's 21 years old. He's been in the Welsh camp. I know it was due to injuries and whatnot, but he's being transitioned into a starter, or at least it seems that's the way it's going. And obviously there is a lot of work on in the loose. There generally are with any tight head at that age, but his scrummaging, his body positioning is sublime. Just to look at him, just to look at the shape all the way through. I mean, obviously you know from your coaching badges yourself. You flex your knees, you going through all the process, and you can just watch him on the side, and
only a front row player would describe it like that. Only an ex-front row player would sit there and say, "Oh, I just love looking at the shape of the prop going into a scrum." It takes a certain type of man to go, "Oh, that's nice. That is. Look at the shape on him."
Well, it goes to tell when you do it yourself and then you're watching someone else, you obviously it doesn't matter what level you are. Experience it does. You do know what works, what doesn't, and it transitions through every level.
Yeah.
So when you're just looking at a player, and I think most props and hookers can look at a scrum before the set, and you're thinking, okay, he's hinging, that's going down. That you can tell. You just look at them and you're going, that the ball's going nowhere, that's being reset, or penalties being given.
Yeah.
So it is really pleasing to watch, especially a boy that young being, just so technically gifted, I'd say.
See, the rest of us will watch a scrum going down and we'll go, I ain't got a clue. I have not got a Scooby what's going on there. And then the referee says, do this and do that. And then says, oh, you weren't doing this. And we're all going, I've not got a clue. I've not. And you've got these tiny little skinny runts of a referee telling these 22 stone man mountains how to hold the scrum up. And going like, I would just say, can you do it properly, please? Because there's no way in the world I'd be trying to tell somebody how to prop. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think you're on your own there with enjoying watching how props go into a scrum, mate. But you knock yourself out. You go for it.
Oh, I will.
But what I did see from O'Connor was, he had quite a few runs with the ball as well. He wasn't shying away from it. He was getting stuck in. He didn't look like somebody coming into this side for their first game. Do you know what I mean? He felt like he was, there and he'd just been there for a long time. So, it's another one to add to our front row camp, which when Samson Lee comes back, when he's actually back fit, if he ever does, finger crossed, that's going to be a pretty hefty old set of boys in the front row, isn't it? Be good to see.
Yeah, well, I really do hope that Samson comes back and gets to some sort of level that he was beforehand. This is his second Achilles injury. It's his opposite foot, so that's both of them gone now in his career. So he never quite reached the heights that he had before his first injury. So if he can just get back to the level he was at before the second one, would be very pleasing. Just because I can't see Javan Sebastian staying with us much longer now, being Scottish capped.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this in pre-season, where he's not the kind of player that, I know he's a local boy and stuff like that, but he just doesn't stand out for me as a good all-rounder. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to describe, and I don't want to put the boy down, but he doesn't feel like, I think it might be a confidence thing. When he's got his hand on the ball, he doesn't feel confident, and when he's in defence, he just doesn't look like he's gonna mush somebody and stick him on their backside. If you look at Ken Owens, been out for 12 months, over 12 months. So first start back, and he was absolutely melting some of those. There was one phase around about the half-hour mark where he, in the space of 3 minutes, he put in 4 dominant tackles. Yeah? So picking him up, bang, back, off the floor, bang, back again. I think there was a two phases, and he's back again, bang. Then they broke the line. He's back round, he's up again, bang, in the line and caused a turnover. And you're just like, that's what you need from somebody in the front row. That's a next level front row that's helping out the back row, doing all of that kind of stuff. And I just never see Sebastian as that kind of player. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do get you. He hits 5s and 6s in every category, but he doesn't tend to go above them. Like, one thing I do notice with him is the few times he's been in the Scottish camp, his first game back with us, his carrying is really good, but then it drops straight back down. Yeah. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what they do in the Scottish camp, but it seems as always carrying ups a level for a few weeks and then just straight back to normal.
Yeah, and I say, if he does go at the end of the season,
that's if his contract is up at the end of this year as well.
Yeah, well, there are a load up at the end of this season, aren't there? We know there's a load up at the end of this season with extensions and natural ends and things. But yeah, I think we're I'm not going to say blessed in the front row, but I think we're solid in the front row, and I think we've got a lot of
capable
players coming through. Yeah. If Samson Lee doesn't come back, we've got players in there that will come and fill that gap. So, yeah, it was one of those things. I'm not a massive fan of the scrums. Unlike the referee for the Ospreys game on Friday night, he loved the scrum. He couldn't go 30 seconds without having a scrum. So let's stop all this running around, boys. Let's have a scrum. But yeah, I thought our scrum was solid. And even when we went down to 7 men, we didn't creak in the scrum. I know there weren't a massive amount of scrums after that, but it was still half an hour with 7 forwards on the pitch, and McLeod was just everywhere. I thought when he had that head contact early in the first half, I thought, oh, here we go again. 10 minutes in, head contact. That's it. He's out. That's another HIA. That's another couple of weeks or whatever. And to be fair to him, you could almost see him going, "No, I'm staying on. Nobody's taking me off this pitch again. I'm staying on. I'm playing the bloody game." And I thought he was immense. I thought he was just everywhere. There were times when you had to check and see, was he in that last tackle? Because how has he made it to this tackle? Do you know what I mean? He was just up and down like a yo-yo the whole time. I thought he was fantastic. And
he did put in hell of a shift. I will give it to that. I'm not sure what his tackle count was, but it was more than likely the best for us easily. And he was like a little whippet. He was everywhere. I mean, I haven't seen him put that much effort into his jackling, which has been a massive area of his game in the past. But he was literally up and about and everywhere.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
And if he wasn't jackling and winning the turnover, he was slowing the ball down, and it just meant that Zebre couldn't go anywhere. So yeah, I know he's early back off an injury, and I know in Wales we're particularly blessed at number 7, but I would not be at all surprised to see Pivac playing 2 7s, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him being included in some of the games over the autumn.
No, that's something that I picked up when I was trying to pick my my Welsh squad, and I do struggle with it. Because, I could pick a squad, you could pick a squad, Pivac picks a squad, and there's about 15 boys that we're rotating between the three of us.
Yeah.
And it is, but no, Pivac does rate Josh, very, very highly. I know we can understand why. We've watched him play over the years, and it wouldn't come as a shock to me if he was included for the autumn internationals.
And I think if you've got a big enough pack in front of you, you can play 2 7s or 3 7s. I would not be at all. Faletau isn't your traditional number 8. He's not that big ball carrying, heavy hitting. He's more of a centre that's got lost and has ended up in the pack. Do you know what I mean? He's got that kind of skill set. He's not your traditional. He's not Callum Mahoney. Give the boy, give it to him 28 times in a game, and he'll make 10 meters every time. You give to Faletau 5 or 6, and he might break the line 4 of those times. So I wouldn't be surprised to see in at least one game we end up with 3 7s on the pitch, just because we got so many of them. We got them coming up our ears at the minute.
Well, yeah, that depends how many are fit, though. Again, I mean, we're still not sure if Tipperic's available, so that's another question again.
Yeah, and we know Navidi is out, but then you still, there are boys, there are open side flankers who, in any other generation, would be a definite shoe-in. They're not even in a squad.
30, 40 cap players, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Thomas at Bristol is playing out with skin every week. And you're like, what's the guy got to do to get a call up for the Welsh squad? Well, actually, there are 10 open side flankers ahead of him, So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see McLeod get that call up. I don't want him to, purely from a selfish point of view. I think Ken needs a bit more time to work on his fitness. So leave him alone, leave him with us. I think Gareth Davis is probably, you're not going to find out anything new from having Gareth Davis in camp, so leave him with us. Do you know what I mean? I think the less players that we have, the first week these players are in camp, we've got Leinster. Yeah. I think
that's a big one.
Yeah. And we know Leinster are going to lose probably between 12 and 15 players into the Irish squad.
Which means nothing to them.
But you're still working at that second level. And if we're still working, let's say we have a handsome win against Connacht, and then you're going into Leinster and you're going, 2 wins on the bounce, Leinster away. This is one of those games that could go either way. So, yeah, if we're going to Leinster on the back of 2 victories and you've got the likes of, Ken Owens, Scott, Foxy, you've got the full raft of players there. I think we're in with a really, really good shout, as long as we back it up first of all against Connacht. I think that's the hard bit, is we have to back it up now against Connacht. And if we get another bonus point against Connacht, that's another 3 places up the league. So it's a big 6 places gone in 2 weeks potentially. So
I mean, it's a big ask. A bonus point win against Connacht in Connacht. I know they haven't got the best. They're pretty similar to us. Win-loss record, but the teams they play in and the results they're putting in, they are very much similar to us. They could very well be sitting on 4 or 5 wins instead of just the 1 or 2.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important that we do go there. The one thing that we have got that they haven't is we've looked like scoring tries. Benetton and take Benetton out of it. We've looked like scoring tries everywhere else, and I think that's the difference now. Is if we can start connecting some of these dots, we're gonna have a lot of 4 try bonus points this season. I think that's if that's your
potential for it,
yeah, if that's your aim every game, that we're gonna score 4 tries, then you're gonna be in a good place come the end of the season. We put 4 tries past Ulster. Is it 4 or 5 past Ulster?
Let me revert.
Go back through Stafford's book.
I'm going back to my book. Ulster, we scored 5.
Yeah. So, not many people are going to score 5 tries against Ulster. We scored 5 tries against Zebre, or 6?
Yeah.
I lost track.
5 again.
Yeah.
Well, we scored 7, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, 5 officially.
Yeah. The one I was gutted for was Steph Evans when he was chasing that kick through, because he came on for Foxy at centre, and that chip through, and it was a nothing kick. Somebody just stuck the boot to it, and he was on it like a rabbit, And if it just sits up a little bit more, he's in for a try there definitely. And I've got to be fair to him, seeing him at centre. I know he's only a little diddy kind of a bloke, but he does all right. He does in no place at centre.
Yeah, we made the point last week that we were both pretty impressed with the performance that he put in while he was on the pitch, and it was I think he came on for Scott Williams, so it was Jonathan Davis at 12 and Steph Evans at 13, and it was the same again. He didn't look out of place. He made his tackles, which, as anyone who knows anything of Steph Evans' career will know that making his tackles has always been something that's been a bit of an issue. So it's incredibly pleasing to see that, and 13 isn't exactly the easiest defensive position on the pitch either.
And I think he's got a little bit of a bit between his teeth now, where I think he knows he's not the number 1 winger anymore. With Combeer and then either McNichol or Tom Rogers. The nose is a little bit out of joint, and he's a bit like, I'm going to show him, which is great. Fair play to the guy. He could have quite easily sat back and gone, I'm off to Japan and I'm going to make some big money, or I'm off to France. But he's not. He's like, no, I want that shirt, and that's my shirt. I want it back. So, fair play to him. You can't fault that sort of stuff, can you?
No, and it is pleasing to see. There's always been questions over his top end pace as a winger, but as a 13, that pace is definitely there. Yeah. So it could be a very good fit. Might have come a little bit late in his career for him to really, probably hit his peak. But it is looking promising for him, and I'm happy for the boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Steph had a cracking game as well. So before we move on to the local stuff, we got to talk about the negatives. And I know it's the elephant in the room, but our discipline just annoys me. Do you know what I mean? I just, like, Fafita's red card was a stupid one to give away. And Sam as well, just, you're sitting there and you're going, why? Why are you, it's not like they were going for the ball. It's not like we were in a position of losing the ball. We were 3 tries up, 4 tries. Yeah, I think we just got the bonus point when he went off, wasn't it? And you're just like, why? Why are you, what is it that goes through your head that you go, do you know what, now's a good time to just stick one on the chin? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's never a need, especially when you are a 6'4", 5'6", whatever you are, to stay that high in the tackle. But I did think he was unlucky to get the red, because they didn't look like there was a lot of force in it for me. And that was one thing that the referee didn't take into account when he was going through his mitigation. So I'm secretly hoping that the disciplinary panel says, you know what, that red for the game, that's sufficient enough. And he's back with us for next week.
Yeah, and for me, at 6, I still want somebody that's going to tackle. And I've got questions over his defence, because he got skinned a couple of times. Those line breaks that I was talking about earlier, 2 of them were down to Sam just not. One was he wasn't in the line, he was dog-legged, and it allowed a gap to go through, and he wasn't quick enough to get to him. And the second, when the play just went around the outside of him, and he wasn't quick enough to get to that player. So there's a balance between, his attack, which is, just lovely to watch. You could just sit there and watch highlights of his attacking game all day, and still be going, right, there's still more to see. But defensively, yeah, I'm starting to see questions with him. At 6, you need somebody that's going to nail them.
Tackle.
Yeah. And that's why, I'd be quite confident putting 2 7s on the park, someone like McLeod and someone else, because they're solid tacklers, nothing's going to get through them. They're going to dump them and win the ball. And that's why I think, Sam, I know we're, a few players down in the back row at the minute with Blade and what have you, but it's one of those things where second row, you can kind of get away with it a bit more and do more of the defensive stuff around the ruck. But I think he just got exposed too many times at 6. And I don't know if that built into a frustration that just kind of, right, whack, someone's having it sort of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it is a different game defending as a blindside flanker than defending as a lock. And I know there's a lot of talk of these hybrid style second row blindside flanker players, but Sam definitely is not one of them, and it was an emergency use only.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can put this game, put it in the recycling bin, and we don't have to look at it again. So that's what my main take for him in this game is. It was hopefully just a one-off, out of position, and it didn't work well. So I don't expect to ever see him at 6 again. I mean, we have, like we said, we have Josh McLeod, who there's 2 sides to Josh McLeod. There's the 6.5, and then there's the 7, because we've either got the one that jackals once or twice a game, or we've got the one that jackals every single ruck he can.
Yeah.
And he's more than capable of doing both.
But then we've also got younger players coming through. Shenton, I think Shenton's another 6/7 or 7/6. And there are other boys that are there coming through that can fill that role as a solid 6,
Yeah, I was quite surprised to see Lousy in that 6 jersey when the team's name, because I know he's played 7-8, but we've had Luca Giannini on the pitch this season already, so I was a bit surprised that he wasn't in the mix. And we've also got Yestin Rees, who is a 6-8 mould, and he's been playing regularly for Llandovery. So that was another name, another player who thinking, no, he has played there. He's not quite made the breakthrough with us, but he's there, he's fit, he's available.
Yeah. And it may have just been, like you said, Zebre, and, if we'd have lost that game, there would have been absolute fury, wouldn't there? So you can't blame him for kind of going, right, okay, we're going to stick with the tried and tested for this game. We're not going to roll any dice for this game. And it may have been, if we'd have won 3 games on the bounce going into that game, then maybe he wouldn't have been on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? It would have been a different option.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw something in here for next season now, right? So having a look at a couple of bits and bobs. There's a couple of players that are going to need to come home if they want to stay in Welsh contention. And there are a couple of players that would really fit in very well with the way, where some of our not weaknesses are, but some of our shallow areas are. And he would fit in really well. And that's Christianza. Now, if he came in...
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and he is very much that sort of athletic lock. He's very. When I look at him, I'm looking at a different version of Aaron Shingler, because there's that same build. There seems to be a bit more power with Chris, but it's that same type of player.
And I think for the type of, he's a big boy, he's quick, he's athletic, he's dynamic. He's everything that we need to make that pack tick. I mean, we don't know who's going to go at the end of the season and things like that, but now's the time when those conversations are happening. And, we made one big sign-in to come in for this season. If we only make one big sign-in for next season, that would be the one that I'd be going for. And I'd be absolutely, dog with a bone, let's sign somebody that's going to boost what we've got there. You've then got 3, maybe 4 top-class second rows / back rows that can take the pressure off Callum Mahoney at 8, that can reduce some of the pressure, that can actually fill that gap, that void left by Jake Ball that we still haven't really filled. That just ticks so many boxes for me, is having him in our pack next season. Would just, for me, sort of, not all the problems, but would solve a lot of the problems that we get, particularly when one person's injured and you're down into, right, okay, somebody's coming in and they haven't really got a lot of experience. You can rotate quite comfortably then with him in the side. But that's an aside. That's for next year.
That's a long time coming. Yeah. And, I don't want to start talking about next season, but like we've said earlier, there are a lot of contracts up for renewal, etc., and it's Peel's second season. But, the start of next year, the 23-24 season, once the World Cup is all over, I think that's going to be really Peel's first official squad, the squad that he has put together. So, results can go either way for this season. He's got the back in the management. It's really, he's going to start being, scrutinized more in next season when he's brought in I know he's only brought in 50 to this season, and that was a lot down to money resources. But next year, in regards to Peel, is going to be a massive one. and whether or not he makes it, not makes it, because I have no doubt that he's going to make it as a head coach somewhere, if not here, then somewhere else. But whether or not that jump is with us here, which I hope it is.
Yeah, I think, well, now's the time when all of those contract negotiations start in, and Exeter, they're in the middle of an exodus for next season, with players going left, right, and centre because of salary caps and various things that are happening in Exeter and in the Premiership. And Exeter are on record as saying, at some point, Shinza's going to go home because he wants to play for Wales. And there's another one there.
It's the same with David Jenkins.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, because he's a lump of a boy as well, isn't he?
He is a proper lock. He's not the Chunza, hybrid. He is an out and out lock. He is, I don't know how tall he is, but he's like, he's 6'6" wide. He is bloody huge.
Yeah.
I know he's 90. I think he's 20, 21, but still to be that size at that age, yourself, he's done finish properly grow until the 22, 23, and he's looking that size now.
Yeah.
And even Epsom, watch out, like.
Well, there's a lad in our local youth team who he's attached to academy. He's not in academy, but he's attached to academy. He is 16. So yeah, must be 16. Yeah, he's a year below my boy. Yeah, so he's 16, 6'10". Honest to God, he stood next to me.
How wide though? That's the question. How is he 6'10" and he looks like a string bean, or is it filling out? That's the question.
Yeah, so I've stood next to. He's a quiet lad, but he will come on, and he's got the width, he's got the height. He's certainly got the family pedigree. I played with his dad. So yeah, I'm not going to put any pressure on him by saying his name or anything, but he's the sort of homegrown player that you really hope comes through, and you just go, yeah, we're starting to breed them big, sort of a thing. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's what we need.
We don't grow a lot of boys.
Yeah.
We really don't grow a lot of boys that size, and if we find one, not the pressure, not as any, we got to make these boys become professional players, but the resources do need to be made available to give these boys every chance of becoming a professional player.
Yeah, and well, that's why I think when that opportunity for Chinza and Jenkins is there for next season, I think that's where we know that that's our weakness. Ospreys seem fine with second rows. They seem to kind of pop them out like peas in a pod. And, Cardiff just naturally attract anyone half decent from Newport, and Newport seem to grow them in manure. So we seem to be the side that's, having said that, the Price Boys did rather.
We breed attacking players. We breed attacking players. We do not breed, generally we do not breed big front five players.
So, that's the thing for me that kind of is starting to stick out now. And say with Lowsey on Saturday, just demonstrated it again. Him, Fafita, both out. Where'd you go now? And that's, like I say, I thought the Price Boys played really well in the second row. But now we're sitting there and we're going, well, let's hope that Blade is back so he can play six. And then you go in, if Callum Mahoney gets injured or needs a week off, then we are struggling. So anyway, let's talk about the Connacht game then. Let's make a couple of predictions and have a chat about Connacht. What's your thoughts on the Connacht game? It's a Friday game, so it's an early, quick turnaround. And it's a trip over to Connacht. Not the easiest place to go. They've got the brand new plastic pitch over there as well. So, and like you said earlier, they've been playing okay so far. They've could have won at least 2 of their 4 games. So, how are you seeing?
I'm the eternal optimist, and I think a few, Welsh selections could boost our morale a little bit more and really push us over the edge. Now, Combia has been outstanding, and the game against Zebre, he made stupid amount of clean breaks, and the amount of defenders he beat, it was unreal, and he was going through contact and getting back up. It was unreal, the performance he put in, and
his try was excellent, wasn't it? Such a simple try, just a little chip through, a chase, but that's what you want from a winger, isn't it? I thought that was a bloody good winger's try.
He's going to be on a high already because of that performance. If he gets a phone call Tuesday morning or however they're working out and say, look, you're in the Wales squad, he's going to be going up a level again. And I think that could be the case with a couple of boys. I think if Jonathan Davies got that call back in, it would boost him. Same as with Harry O'Connor, I think it could do the world of good for some of these players. I don't want them to go.
Yeah.
But I think if they do get selected, same with Costello, I'm kind of resigned to him going as well.
Especially with Bigger's injury. It's, Bigger's going to be out pretty much all of the autumn international now, apparently, if reports today are to be believed. And he's the inform 10 at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah, I was looking, I think, if Anscombe comes through, then he's there. But then next off the line, you're throwing Costello in at the deep end because, Patchell's not starting, Sheedy's out of favour, and both Jared Evans and Sam Davies have both shown they're not up to that level. So they're like really, really far back rank outsiders. But I do think that selection, it could be a big morale boost, and I think it could help us as a team out in Galway.
I think it'll shoot, because they go into camp before the Leinster game then, don't they? Because we play that extra one, don't they?
I think it's next Monday they go into camp.
Yeah. So it would kind of shoot us in the foot for the Leinster game. But because if you had Ken Owens, Costello, Combia, Foxy, Halfpenny, Halfpenny, since he's come back from his injury, has been absolutely rock solid. But, you put all of those boys on the pitch against Connacht, and I'm fairly confident of a win. Genuinely am. I think up front, we're still a little bit injury riddled, but in the backs now, I'm quite confident that, even with Steph at 13 covering the backs, I'm quite confident that we've got what it takes to put Connacht away with those boys on the pitch. Week after against
another
Leinster.
Pleasing thing from this weekend is Hardy started a game and he played well. I was really, really happy with that.
It's weird, isn't it, with Hardy, because you see him more in a Welsh shirt than you do in a Scarlet shirt, And I think that's his 3rd game this season. I can't remember the last time I saw him play 3 games in a Scarlet shirt. I just, but yeah, I thought his kicking was all right. I thought his tackling was okay for a scrum half. He put a couple of decent tackles in, which normally they just.
I think that's the Gareth Davies effect, though. He's always been the aggressor as a scrum half, and obviously Hardy's learnt off him. And me being starter, as you say, they are the 2 scrum halves in Wales that don't tend to miss that many tackles.
And Dean Blacker coming on. And every time he comes on, he's like a little whippet. And you're like, we got quality through that 9 shirt. Archie Hughes I think he's with Carmarthen Quins at the minute. He's having a couple of games at Carmarthen Quins. And he
was playing on Thursday night.
Yeah, and he's tearing stuff up as well. And you just think, we got some real quality players there that it would be nice to see. Yeah, I can see Davis not making it to the World Cup and Blacker taking his place. I really can. If he carries on playing the way he is, I think he'll, at some point, you lose an edge of speed, you lose that determination to get there. And I just think at the minute Blacker's got it, and Davis is just kind of on the other side of the hill. Do you know what I mean? It's just starting to go downhill a little bit. And at international level, going into a World Cup, you don't want people that are just starting to go downhill. You want people fighting to get up the hill. So that's my thoughts. That's just my kind of.
So that's what our thoughts on the Connacht game are. Wales.
Yeah. So I think a lot of Connacht game will, as always, depend on the weather. If it's howling a gale, like it usually is out there, it's going to be a low scoring thing. But decent weather, decent game. I think we got it comfortably, and I genuinely mean comfortable. I think we got it no problems at all. But what's your thoughts on the score? Go on, give us a score.
Gives a score.
Go on.
I got to work it out with the kicking and the weather now, because Halfpenny missed that final conversion, didn't he? Oh,
what's the weather going to be like for Saturday? This is going to test my phone now. How good is my phone's weather forecast? Let's have a look. Does it go that far? Rain. I know it says rain for us, but we're not that far away from Connacht. So, yeah, I think if it's a rainy one.
Well, I think we're struggling with the rain, because they've recruited pretty well over this. Well, the Irish teams, they being centrally contracted, they do pick a few players from Leinster to move to other provinces over there in it to strengthen up. And I think Josh Murphy joining Connacht is a very, very shrewd move, and he's shown up that pack a little bit more, which doesn't bode well for other teams. But no, wet weather, I still think we can do it, but it'd be a lot tighter if we can get dry for at least half a match. I'd say, I'm going to go 26-19. It's going to be close.
And I think if it is wet weather, actually the plastic pitch plays into our favour then rather than theirs, because you don't get that bogged down, that heavy ground. You do just get skipping off the plastic sort of a thing. So yeah, I'm going to go slightly lower. I'm going to go 20 points to 15 for us. I think it'll be if the weather forecast is as iffy as my phone says it is, I can't see, a bit like that Ospreys game on Friday night.
Someone said it was raining. It's raining. End of.
But what I have noticed is we now train in the rain a lot more than we used to. Before we used to go in the barn. The last couple of seasons, if it's been raining outside, we've been training in the barn. Not this season. This season, they're out, they're catching the high balls, they're slinging the long passes. So, we live in West Wales, for Christ's sake. We need to train in the rain. We need to be comfortable playing rugby in an absolute force 9 gale and knowing what we're doing. So, fair play. I think that might actually be in our favour now.
Yeah, well, it's either training in the rain or put a roof on the stadium, and I'm not too sure which one's cheaper at the minute.
Yeah, well, I could see some of those scenes from Saturday night with the rain coming down, and you do just kind of think,
it was awesome. It was awesome. Just sat there, and you can see absolutely everyone in the North Stand hightailing and climbing up the seats. Everyone was in the concessions, just diving back in. It was lovely to watch as someone who was just about covered in the south.
Oh well, I was fine. I was sitting in a bar with a pint of Guinness, so I was sitting there going like, "Oh, that looks nasty. That looks bad." And I've been there sat in the first row. My boy loves sitting in the first row because you're like right up close to the players and stuff. So he likes trying to talk to the players as they're playing. So we've sat there in row 1 where it's been absolutely, ripping your skin off rain. And I wasn't too sad to be sat in a nice warm pub with a cold pint of Guinness going, oh, that looks nasty. So, yeah, quite happy.
What would we call one of them where the supporters then, is it?
Yeah. It was, yeah. I didn't miss it at all. So that's our predictions for the Connacht game then. So let's have a little looky at the local game. So cup matches last week. Thought we fared quite well. So obviously the scoreboard podcast is up, but just to recap some of the key bits. So something you might know, but I certainly couldn't work it out. There are a couple of games that I know were given as walkovers, and they show up as 20 points to 0, right? And then there was Pembroke and Birchgrove. That showed up as 20 points to 0 loss. But I haven't heard if Pembroke made a side or not, and I can't find anything either way, which is odd. So that's the only one that really threw me on the weekend was that genuinely a 20 points to 0 loss? Yeah, or was it a walkover? And I don't blame Pembroke, for focusing on the league and going, do you know what, let's just take a breath this week and focus on the league. But it's that was the only one that I couldn't really work out. The big game that we were looking at, Narberth Pontypool, Narberth lost 48-24 in that, but by all accounts gave a really good account of themselves and played really well. So I think
I can't really say if that's a true reflection on Pontypool or Narberth, because I haven't been able to find the team sheets consistently for the last few weeks. So I'm going to say, well, obviously the match report, regardless, it was a good front up, and it does bode well because it's not just one team going up at the end of the season. It's going to be at least 2.
Yeah.
So I think it does bode well for Narberth in the future, and it comes in well for this week coming out.
Well, I think what we've seen from Narberth so far this season is actually people are taking them serious now. There's nobody there going, maybe a couple of seasons ago they were seen as the soft boys in the league, that it was easy going to Narberth, and I don't think it's like that anymore. I think they've boosted the squad. There's a lot of players there now with a lot of experience that are, we're going up against some of the big boys, the Pontypools and what have you, and, certainly sticking with them for 50, 60 minutes. Fair play to them. That was good. So one score that did stand out for me, Milford, cracking win, 40 points to...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good win away in Pyle, that. And now, social media, right? So I put on social media. So I put all of our forecast. Well, I say I put our forecasts, our predictions. I had a stab at remembering what our predictions were, and I put them on Twitter. Okay, so I'll do it again for this week. So anybody that wants to kind of have a go at prediction with us, have a look at our Twitter feed on Friday afternoon, and I'll have all the games on there with. I might even listen back to this, Martin, and put our scores on there. So I predicted a Tenby win, against Resolven. And then a couple of Tenby boys went, whoa, hang fire. let's not go annoying Resolven before we even get on the pitch. And then they had a couple of Resolven boys going, too late. And then Tenby came away with a win. So, I think Tenby boys
maybe
need
it was
to have
a psychological warfare, but I think we done well, but there.
Yeah, I think now I've got to predict Tenby for a win every week. And
I think
and
I've done
I'm going to tag in whoever they're playing and start winding them up. But yeah, so other decent wins then. Where was that? So Cardigan had a decent game against Taibach, 31-24. That was the game. Oh, and Harvard West won 39-14. So decent wins, decent games. Fair play. So can't fault that. So anyway, this week's games.
we got one more result that we forgot to put.
Oh yeah. So we had. Oh, I've forgotten the score. It was in the Youth Bowl, wasn't it? Youth Bowl, Langham and One Eyelid, wasn't it?
Langham won 24-5 from all accounts, which is awesome. Nice little teeny tiny village youth team taking on some big one-eye teams.
And it is, and we've discussed Langham before, saying how hard the whole village works to get boys on the pitch. So to have a youth team when all around you youth teams are folding, and then to go in, like you say, against quite a well-respected youth team, quite a well-respected club in One Eyelid, fair play to them, and we wish them well. So we'll keep an eye on the youth fixtures, the youth cup fixtures and bowl fixtures, and we'll try and keep people abreast of what's going on with those as well, because we got nothing else to do.
Emphasis on we're going to try. There's
we're going to try,
promises being made, but we're going to try.
It depends how many bottles of wine I get through on a Saturday night on that one, how much trouble I'm in, and how many minutes I can sneak away and just I'm just going to do this, love, and I'll be back in a minute. So, right, let's have a look at this Saturday then. So Narberth away at Cardiff Met. Ooh,
it's an easy choice for me. It's always going to be Narberth. I mean, Cardiff Met have got such a job. They run so many different teams, and it can be a struggle for them on times, but they do front up well. But I just think the way Narberth have been playing this season, they're just too strong.
Yeah, and I've gone exactly the same. I've gone Narberth for exactly that same reason. I just think Narberth are on a bit of a roll. Even with a defeat against Pontypool, I just think the positivity is there right now to take somebody like Cardiff Met and put them to the sword. So, yeah, I think this. I've got a Narberth win as well. Division 1 then, Aberystwyth are at home to Gowerton. I got that as an Aber win.
I'm the same, but it was a bit of a struggle for me to come to that because Gowerton only just lost to Crimmet, and like we said, there's about 6 teams that are really really up for it in this division at the moment, and I think if Aber do get the win over Gowerton now, I think we might be knocking that down to 5 teams. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I'm going for Aber purely because it's a home game for them, and home games for Aberystwyth are very, very. The trip out to Aberystwyth, even on even if you're Cardigan, is still a fairly hefty old trip. So you do tend to have a few less players available for that trip, and Aberystwyth are always up for it when they're at home. So next game on the list then is somewhat of a local derby. Connacht are at home to Pembroke. We got one side that can't buy a win and one side that just seems to touch gold everywhere it turns. There's that's a Connacht win every day for me.
I didn't even think we didn't need to say that, really. We were both in agreement.
Yeah. And that's hard. I'm a Pembroke boy, so I got to
know when you have to get
there. Yeah, I got to rephrase that. I'm a Pembroke and a Quins boy, which is something that neither club will let me say, but yeah, I've got connections to both clubs, so it is hard.
You're a Pembroke pause Quins boy.
Oh yeah, probably I'm a Quins pause Pembroke boy, but yeah. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Whitland are away to Newcastle, and I got Newcastle winning that one because again, Whitland just can't find any form at the minute.
Yeah, same. Struggling Whitland. Has anyone from Whitland been kind enough to get into contact?
No, but I might give them a buzz this week and just see, let's have a chat. We'll see how that goes. Fishguard are at home to Mumbles in Division 2. I think that'll be a good game. I think that should be a high scoring game.
Be a good game. I'm backing Fishguard all the way, but yeah, it looks promising.
Yeah, and again, Fishguard at home, crap weather, wind blowing 100 mile an hour coming in down the moor. It's about who knows how to play that game better, and I just think Fishguard have got the experience. I thought they'd rest a few players for the cup game last week, and they did. And I think those players will be back refreshed. So yeah, Fishguard home win for me. Then we've got Milford are at home against Carmarthen Athletic. Big game for Milford.
Yeah, I mean, Carmarthen Athletic, I know they're in a similar position to Milford, but looking at their results, they have played, the three of the best sides in the league, and they have only just come away without the win. So I think if I was, putting money on it, I'd probably say Carmarthen Athletic. But being as though we are the Pembrokeshire podcast, and Milford had a massive win this weekend, they're going to keep it going. Milford, 100% for the win.
I've gone Carmarthen. I think Milford are just struggling. I know they've had a decent win, but I just think they are struggling in the league. But okay, so Tenby away in T. Croix. So I've gone for a Tenby win here just because I've started something now and I've got to keep backing it up. So that's the only reason I've gone for a Tenby win. I don't actually know how good T. Croix are.
I'm sticking with Tenby. They're very similar based on the few results that we've seen so far. Right. So, it really is a flip of the coin, this early in the season. But no, I've got to back Tenby.
Okie dokie then. So I don't need to ask you who you're going for on the next one then. We move into Division 3, Haverfordwest at home against Cardigan. I'm guessing you're sticking with the Blues on that one.
Am I?
Don't tell me you're going to give up on Haverfordwest now. You called them every game so far this year. Tell me, Marty, you sticking with Haverfordwest?
Times have got to change. But not this week. Haverfordwest are going to win.
Okay. Langham at home to Larne. Larne are on a bit of a roll at the minute, aren't they? So, yeah. Abereyron away to Llanybother.
Abereyron looking good. They're looking really strong. Putting some pretty good score lines.
Yeah, I've got that one then. So, Neyland at home to Pembroke Quins. So I'm going 3 yellow cards, 2 red cards, and a couple of ambulances for that one. It's just always is. That's just the way that game goes. But I'm going for a Quins win because
me too.
Good. I wouldn't be allowed to walk around if I hadn't.
I honestly thought that you were going to go the other way, just
wind them up. No. Quins got a young side this year. And they're doing really well. So, yeah, I've gone for a Quins win over there. St. Clair's at home to St. David's, the Battle of the Saints. Where are we going there?
Do we really have to discuss this game?
I've gone for that's quite a strong... I mean, St. David's are playing really well. St. David's are really playing very well. But St. Clair's are too strong.
They are.
Yeah.
We're all in agreement.
And then last game is Pembrokeshire College away at Neath College. And at that point, our recording dropped out. So Martin is quite adamant that this is Pembrokeshire College week. This is their big opportunity to take a scalp for this season. I'm not quite so confident. So Martin's gone for a Pembrokeshire College win. I've put my money on Neath for this week. So, so we wrapped up everything from there on in. So don't forget, guys, this podcast is all about, part of it is about Scarlets, part of it is about local rugby. And as we move into the autumn international period, it's a big opportunity for local rugby to really put itself on the mark and really let people know that it's still here. Let's get people through the gates, sort of a thing. So if you fancy coming on board and doing an interview, by all means, the next couple of weeks is the best time to come and have a chat. Get in touch with us either through the email or through our Facebook page or through our Twitter or whatever. Just drop us a line and we'll get something sorted for you. In the same respect, we'd love to hear your match reports. We'd love to have you on for a couple of minutes and just give us a real sense of what club rugby is like, because that's the way we get people through the gates, guys. That is how we get new people through the gates and going, yeah, this is something that I quite enjoy and I'm going to keep doing more of it. So tell us about your match day experience, drop us a line, let us know, and we'll happily have you on for future episodes. So don't forget, the scoreboard is live on Saturday night at the latest on a Sunday morning. All the scores from Pembrokeshire Rugby through the weekend. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy your rugby. It's been a fantastic week to be a Scarlet this week, so long may it last. Enjoy your rugby, and we'll chat again next week. Thanks so much. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters Pems team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet Pems. Find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.